Okay, some announcements. First of all, we want to remind everybody that we have 3 services in a row in November, and we'll have equally as many in December. Today, Dr. Barrett is on. Next Sunday, Dr. Michelle is on, and I'll be on the 23rd, which we usually have as Thanksgiving Sunday. Okay, Mr. Teach's birthday is the 2021, so that makes him coming up on 5 years? 4. Okay, all right. All right, happy birthdays coming up. So that's Tracie, Michelle, and I, 3 Sundays in a row. Want to remind everybody the next thing of Connections is on the 20th. The 27th is Thanksgiving, so I won't meet them, but we will meet weekly in December. It's a time to remember that things often get triggered randomly and unexpectedly during the holidays. And I can't stress that enough, randomly and unexpectedly. So you need to know that any of us are here to work with you and share with you. And we've got Connections again on the 20th, and then we'll every week in December. Good morning, Pam Gray, also from New York. Okay, next. Condolences to Nikki Lindquist's stepdad. He was her stepdad for decades. He was 100 years old. And passed away just a couple of days ago. So it's going to be a big meeting of Haitians. And I met Nikki's mother, who is 95. And I need to give you an idea of how somebody at 95 is. I'm getting out of my Jeep. I forget what I had. And her mother, who must be a whopping 5 feet tall and weighs 90 pounds, came over and said, "Here, let me carry that for you." I said, she says, "I realize you're older, and are you strong enough to carry this?" She's 90, 95. Yes, that's Nikki's family. I mean, they're all just yes. And so her stepdad of many decades passed just a couple of days ago. Condolences to Nikki. I want to thank all of you for sharing a day of antiquity and ancient of days. Last Monday, I had a birthday. And there's no getting around. I told my classes, you're going to love this. I said to my classes, be awed. Be thou now awed. This is the first time you will have seen an ancient of days in your very lifetimes. So somebody said to me, "How old are you?" I said, "My God, you're older than my grandfather." Just moving right along. Yes. Okay. I want to say a word about pets. Those of you who have cats, let me tell you about dogs. Dogs do not pay attention to daylight savings. Dogs get used to routines. The wizard is now in his 15th year, which means that he was alive and well when I was teaching at 7, 8, 9. 7, 8, 9 about... So he would go out, "Are you ready for this?" at 5 o'clock in the morning, because I would leave at 6 to get it if I used to teach at 7, 8, 9 in the morning. So after I quit, after I stopped at FIU in 2019, he still expects to go out at 5 o'clock, 5:15 in the morning and walk. We had daylight savings. Guess who was barking? Guess who was barking at 4:15 in the morning, expecting to go for a walk? I want to tell you, have you ever seen a horror show or a horror movie? When you walk where I live at 4:15, there is nobody around. It looks like bad things have happened. It is so scary. Little hairs on the back of your neck are standing up. Meanwhile, the wizard thinks this is a grand time. He thinks he's going on a grand tour. It's getting cold. It reminds him of being north of Berlin. He thinks this is a riot, and I am scared out of my mind. There is no cats, nothing. Today, we had a shock. Evidently, all the other dogs were out walking. And so at 4:15, there must have been 20 people walking dogs, and some cats came out to join them. So much for daylight savings. Moving right along. I really am aware that this is not a good time to mention this. And so I do this gently and lightly. Our budget is down, and it's through nobody's fault. if you could remember us in the holidays with a special gift, it would be deeply appreciated. Let me put it that way. I realize times are tough. We have no big money people. We have no endowment. And I think we do incredible with what we've got, but we could use a little extra help. So if the holidays, if you could remember us with a little something, it will be deeply, deeply, deeply appreciated. Okay, having said that, I'd like to light the memorial candle. And I'd like to remind us of people today all over our own country who are going through incredible stress financially, emotionally, mentally, work-wise. We have hundreds of thousands of people out of work that work for the government that make it go, and they have no money coming in, no paycheck. We have people who have healthcare issues, and the only way they have been able to get healthcare is through subsidies, because healthcare in this country is absolutely incredibly expensive, and it's just gone up. Right now, living in our country is not affordable. The average car payment, if you've not been aware of this, is now what used to be a mortgage. The average car payment is now $1,000 a month. So between food prices, and if I hear one more person get on and I say, oh, the food prices are fine, obviously this person has not been shopping in the grocery store. I'm just saying people are hurting. And it doesn't make any difference whether you are black or white or Latin or Asian. It doesn't make any difference whether you are middle class or lower middle class or even upper, but everybody is hurting except the super wealthy. We need to remember the cab drivers, the bodega owners, the people who are on limited income from retirement and Social Security. We need to remember all of them, regardless of where they live in this country, and hold them close. It is not a good time, and especially for those in special needs health-wise. We have also workers, those who are working without a paycheck, and the stress they are under is beyond calculable. So we need to have a moment of prayer or thought, lighting the memorial candle for our own people. They need us. We need them. We need to keep each other close. May it be so. Our introit this morning, if you would, Mr. Grimmy.
Our reading today comes from Matthew 22, verses 34 through 40. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, who was an expert in the law, tested Jesus with this question: Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All of the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments.
The responsive reading today, we're asking you to read that in green. It's by Dania Edwards. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my faith. My faith that our collective love united can drown out the evils of empire and hate and greed.
Together, we create a love energy more powerful than any force of oppression.
Because when two or more people are gathered, side by side, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, the force of love ignites liberation.
Revolutionary love calls us to know ourselves deeply, see God in the stranger, find beauty in the imperfect.
Revolutionary love calls us to find the divine in dirt, the holy in the heartache, and the sacred in the scars.
Revolutionary love calls us out and then back in. Revolutionary love calls us to be better and do better. Revolutionary love calls us to heal and hold each other because
none of us would be here if it weren't for our faith in each other.
a while back, we had a moment where a bill came due well before another check would arrive. And unfortunately, it was one we couldn't really put off until the money arrived. I didn't panic. Well, I did a little bit, but not fully. Instead, I opened to my phone, navigated to an app, and simply typed, "We are $200 short for rent this month." Within moments, the money arrived in my Venmo account. I paid rent and then let my husband know it was taken care of. And then I explained to him the concept of mutual aid. Mutual aid at its basic level is people helping other people without the pressure of loans or the justification of charity, just people helping other people. Author, lawyer, and activist Dean Spade says this about mutual aid. Mutual aid is collective coordination to meet each other's needs, usually from an awareness that the systems we have in place are not going to meet them. Those systems, in fact, have often created the crisis or are making things worse. We see examples of mutual aid in every single social movement, whether it's people raising money for workers on strike, setting up a ride-sharing system during the Montgomery bus boycott, putting drinking water in the desert for migrants crossing the border, training each other in emergency medicine because ambulance response time in poor neighborhoods is too slow, raising money to pay for abortions for those who can't afford them, or coordinating letter writing to prisoners. These are mutual aid projects. They directly meet people's survival needs and are based on a shared understanding that the conditions in which we are made to live are unjust. Now, mutual aid networks are popping up again. I've been a part of them for a few years in various circles. Support circles for LGBTQIA beloveds who needed to get out of our state. Part of a network to help people needing transportation to find medical care in another location. And part of a circle of dear friends who quietly send each other money when we need it. But now, I think everyone else is realizing what these circles have always known. We need each other to survive. We are waking up over this last year and realizing that we cannot rely on the structures we've relied on before. Federal workers have been without pay since the government shutdown. These aren't vacations, as their bills don't take vacations. Many are still working without getting paid, and no idea when they will be paid and if that even includes back pay. Rent, mortgage, electric, etc., these things don't stop. And now nearly 42 million Americans are scrambling to figure out how they will feed their families. SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps, were cut due to the government shutdown. And lest you think these benefits are just for people who just need to get a job, please know that the majority of those on SNAP benefits do work. When I worked at a very well-known grocery store here in the South, the majority of my coworkers used these benefits. Mutual aid is a radical act. David Spade says that these, in the context of social isolation and forced dependency on hostile systems, mutual aid, where we choose to help each other out, share things, and put time and resources into caring for the most vulnerable, is a radical act. So what exactly is mutual aid? First of all, it's more than just friends giving each other money or canned goods or a ride. Mutual aid works to meet survival needs while also building understanding around why people do not have what they need. And this part is important because I don't know if you've gone looking for a job recently, but I encourage you to check in on the job board postings. Jobs that require a college degree pay $16 an hour. That's not easy to live on. Last year, there was an article in the Orlando Sentinel that stated that for people to afford to live, not even comfortably, just to survive, an income of $100,000 a year minimum was necessary. Again, most jobs, even full-time jobs, are only offering $16 an hour. So let me do that math for you. At $16 an hour and 40 hours a week, that's just over $33,000 a year. And that's not counting having taxes and benefits taken out of the check. And we wonder why 42 million people are on SNAP. One of the most famous mutual aid programs in our history was the Black Panther Party. They had a free breakfast program, free ambulance program, free medical clinics, ride offerings for elderly people doing errands, and a school for children. They welcomed people in by creating spaces where their needs could be met, because it's hard to fight for liberation when you're starving. History, of course, paints them differently, but it's important to note that the Department of Agriculture's free breakfast program for children started shortly after the Black Panther Party was attacked and demonized. But let's be clear, the free breakfast program of the Department of Agriculture was not based in mutual aid. It was based on the charity model. Mutual aid builds solidarity by providing for needs that can keep us from working for liberation and justice, as opposed to a charity model that determines who is worthy of help for a single issue. Mutual aid requires us to look at the intersectionality of issues that affect us all. We cannot tackle the problem of food insecurity without looking at the federal minimum wage, the rising housing costs, food deserts, rising healthcare costs, etc. And another element of mutual aid is that it is participatory. Spade says that mutual aid projects help people develop skills for collaboration, participation, and decision-making. For example, people engaged in a project to help one another through housing court proceedings will learn the details of how the system harms people and how to fight it. But they will also learn about meeting facilitation, working across differences, retaining volunteers, addressing conflict, giving and receiving feedback, following through, and coordinating schedules and transportation. They may also learn that it's not just lawyers who can do this kind of work, and that many people, including themselves, have something to offer. This departs from expertise-based social services that tell us we need to have a social worker, licensed therapist, lawyer, or some other person with an advanced degree to get things done. Mutual aid networks realize that we all have something to offer and that we all work together to get things done. Mutual aid is not charity. There's nothing you have to do to earn or prove to receive help in a mutual aid network. It breaks the traditional charity model that asks if you're worthy to receive help. The Big Door Brigade, a group helping others create mutual aid networks, says this about the difference. Charity also frames people in need as morally lesser than rich people, as if poverty were the fault of the poor rather than a fault of systems of racism, heteropatriarchy, ableism, land theft, and labor exploitation that makes some people rich and keep other people poor. Charity looks like generosity from rich people, but actually upholds the systems that make most people poor for the benefit of the few. And I can attest to this. Remember my story from the beginning. I did look into how the housing assistance groups might help us, and it would have taken a ton of paperwork and too much time. In some cases, you have to already have an eviction notice before they'll help you. Mutual aid upsets this model by saying that the crises people are in are due to the systemic issues in our society, not because they're good or bad. Mutual aid says, I trust that you know your situation, and this is what I can offer to help. Going back to our reading in Matthew, it's important to know that in the Greek, the word for neighbor meant anybody you may happen to meet along the way. Whereas in the Hebrew scriptures, when it was love your neighbor as yourself, neighbor was tribe, somebody that you know who is related to you, or the people that you are a part of. So Jesus turned it on its head and said, we should treat everyone as though we love them like we love ourselves. So how do we do this? How do we help? There are so many mutual aid networks that are out there. So do some research, find what you can do to help. You can give money, you can, be a part. There's a Central Florida mutual aid network where people just post on Facebook, I need this, and people offer it if they have it. We understand that everybody is hurting. So sometimes money is not something you can offer, but you may be able to offer your time as a volunteer or share your skills or serve as a translator or give people rides, anything like that. And if you can't help and you are somebody who or can't get out there to find where all these networks are, look around, find your people. Begin creating your pods like we did during the pandemic. Find the people nearby that you can connect with. Find how you can help one another if there is no one else to help. Because the reality is that we're likely need to prepare for that. We are all in this together, and we need one another to survive. May we remember that mutual aid is about justice, and justice is what love looks like in public. Amen. May it be so, and may we be the ones to make it so.
Before beginning with the meal, I want to take a moment of thanksgiving for Tracie's comments about mutual aid, something I had never heard about. How embarrassing is that? And did you listen to the music today? About the table, about being together. Songs I have never heard. I am grateful for you for having Tracie and Andrea and Michelle with us. They make us learn new things, new music, food and spirit for the soul. When Jesus was living and amongst a variety of people, he caused much upset. There is a minor thing mentioned in the Gospels that we don't get today. He was at a well with a Samaritan woman and asked for some water. Now, not understanding anything about the incredible tribal politics 2,000 years ago, let me just say it simply isn't done. It's not done with a Samaritan, and especially a woman who had some issues with her marriages, etc., etc., etc. He didn't care. Take a lot of the people he had meals with. He didn't care their background. And it was always a simple meal. Bread, cup, the simplest things that anybody could partake of. And so trying to remember that, we at All Souls have a very simple piece of bread that we symbolically offer, a very simple plate, a simple cup, asking that in this crazy, crazy time and crazy planet and crazy universes, we welcome you all. We welcome you. We hold you close. And we ask to let us walk with you and you walk with us on your journey. And so once again, a meal for us all, that we may be together, supporting and loving. It is at this time we turn to our resident theologian, Winnie the Pooh, and asking you to repeat after me if you would. Promise me you'll remember. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. More readings. God didn't promise days without pain, laughter without sorrows, sun without rain. But the divine did promise strength for the day, comfort for the tears, and light for the way. And now may the blessings of love be upon you. May its peace abide with you. May its essence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. May it be so. Go in peace and love. Amen. We want to thank you all for being with us this morning. We want to thank Dr. Barret for the share. We want to thank Andrea for the reading. Thank you for listening to incredibly different music of gathering us together. want to say hello again to Cindy Deach, to Pat Care, to Pat Sullivan, to Pam, to Maureen, to Alan and Eddie, to Bobby, Gail and Tom, Andrea, Ray, Felix, and Anaki and Mr. Teach, the parrot. We wish you all well and hope that the gives you some strength and peace. We want to remind all of you that all of us are here. Tracie is here. I'm here. If there is something that comes up, this is the season when things randomly trigger us, and we're here to offer support and love. Please remember that. Wishing you all well. Bye-bye.
Tracie, you were wonderful. This is Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that so much.
It was great.
Thank you,
And
guys.
Ken, I want to thank you for all the phone calls.
She is still recovering.
Mhm.
Good week, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.